Hello and welcome to the 39 Minutes of Heaven we call the D1Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Patrick Rooney, here to tell you it's time to get ready for a new season of fishing fun with Academy Sports and Outdoors, reeling the best gear at low prices every day. Plus, Academy offers easy ways to shop and save time, like free 1-hour in-store or curbside pickup on academy.com orders. It is the beginning of the week. Week 8 is behind us. I am joined by the two gentlemen, the middle of the order, if you will, the guys that help us win every podcast, Zebby Barrels, Big Tex, Kendall Rogers, Aaron Fitt. Good morning, gentlemen. How we doing?
Good morning, Coach.
Doing awesome, man. How about you? You had the late game last night with Arizona State, so how are you doing is the better question.
I'm doing great. It was awesome. It was super fun. They had awesome crowds. It was I love both those programs. I think they're very fun. It was good. Yeah, it was good. It was a wild weekend though. Feel a little overstimulated with all the different results. Hey, as we start, boys, let me offer something. Roland Fanning posted something on Twitter this morning. In Clarksville, Tennessee, they've had the floods. That whole part of the country has dealt with some incredible weather, and it's just heart-wrenching video of Roland's wife and 2 daughters. They're in a little one of those little rafts because their cul-de-sac had flooded, and I just for Roland and everyone in Clarksville, everyone in all those parts of the country, just we're thinking of you all. It's you see these videos. I mean, I think every part of the country has something to deal with, but man, just really, really hard to see those things. So thinking of you all. Hey, I had something for you boys before we rip around the country. So one of the big things that happened over the weekend was Texas A&M hitting 11 home runs in a doubleheader basically ran Tennessee off their own field twice in the same day, which was felt like the Twilight Zone. No offense to A&M, but they've been struggling. Tennessee's pervious. Here was my thing I was thinking about. If I gave you guys $20 to bet on teams that were going to make it to Omaha, so you could make it any increment of dollars you wanted, and you could do the wager any way you wanted, meaning you could just put all $20 on one team. You could spread the dollars around and try and do some high odds flyers, those types of things. What would you do? And I'll tell you why I say that, because before Saturday, if you had asked me that question, I would have taken all $20 and I would have tried to borrow some more money and I would have put it on Tennessee. They felt so I could not put in my brain a picture of them losing twice on that field, at Lindsey Nielsen Stadium or Leslie Nielsen Stadium. Who says that? Is that it's so great. Such a fun nickname. Leslie Nielsen, one of the great all-time comedic actors. But Lindsey Nielsen Stadium, I couldn't picture it. And then that happened. What do you think, Kendall? Yeah. How would you spend the dollars?
Well, I don't know how I'd spend the dollars, but I mean, just touching on that series real quick. I mean, I think for Tennessee, if there's one thing about the Vols that I don't really love yet, is I feel like every time I've kind of watched Tegan Kuhn's pitch, it's okay. Right? It's not, it's solid stuff, but I don't feel like he's been great. I do feel like, I wouldn't say there's a hole in the Sunday spot, but I just feel like there's a step down there. From the number 1 and 2 to number 3 spot. I think real quick on A&M, I think 2 things are true here. I think one, they still got a really long way to go, and I think the other is I think they did show to some extent what they're capable of. I think the 2 big keys for them is Caden Sorrell. It's only 30 at bats in conference so far. But OPS is 1.385. He's obviously an infusion in that lineup, and then Bear Harrison, out of nowhere, has become somewhat of a premier hitter. And that was a guy that 3 weeks ago, he was okay, but he's taken a huge step forward. So all of a sudden, if you're A&M, you have Sorrell red hot and you've got Bear Harrison red hot, that's suddenly a really dangerous lineup. So again, we'll see if this continues against South Carolina. They've played bad at times against teams way worse than South Carolina. So we'll see how they play against South Carolina in a couple of weeks as well. But that certainly was a step in the right direction, and I think Tennessee will be fine.
Hey, Coach, I want to answer the question, and I want to
go for it.
Spend some money. Can I spend some money here?
Yeah, let's play the feud.
Let's go. I want $5 on the Arkansas Razorbacks.
That's a good wager.
I want $5 on the LSU Fighting Tigers. I want $5 on the Tennessee Volunteers. So those are the three that I do have still the most confidence in getting to Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
And I got $5 to sprinkle around here. And I'm going to put one still on Georgia. Bad weekend, still believe in them. Certainly, I want $2 on Florida State. That leaves me with $2 to spend. And I'm going to go Oregon State gets $1.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to go I guess at this point for the Virginia Cavaliers. I don't care. I'm not quitting. I'm not quitting.
Oh boy.
You can't take me. UVA, despite coughing up an 8-2 lead last night, I was there.
Oh, is that how that went down? Oh my gosh.
Listen, NC State had 1 hit through 6 innings.
Oh my Lord.
The freshman Tom Valinkis was awesome for Virginia.
Yeah.
And then, little thing, and then you got a pinch hit grand slam in the 7th against the bullpen, and okay, it's 8-6. Seemed like Virginia had righted the ship, and then they get 2 quick outs in the 9th, coach. 2 quick strikeouts to start the 9th, got a 2-run lead, and we got a little single walk, 3-run bomb, walk off. I just, it was kind of stunning how quickly it happened, but credit NC State. I mean, they're, it's an Elliott event, Chris Hart coach team. They're never going to stop fighting. And it's interesting because it feels like State, I'll just keep on riffing on this. It feels like State is still kind of trying to find its identity and its toughness. They're looking for leadership to emerge without Garrett Pennington and AMAC, who are really the leaders of last year's club. I get the sense that they're still looking for those guys. And so maybe this is an important win for them from a team psyche standpoint. But for Virginia, it's not, we're talking to Brian O'Connor before the game. It's about like, hey, we just got to stay the course. It's just like keep on going one day at a time. And like, it's hopefully it'll click. They're not dead. They're still 7-8 in the ACC. And gosh, they were 1 pitch away from winning, a series on the road yesterday. And that coaching staff, I just still believe in them. I still believe in the talent. I'm a little worried about their bullpen without Matt Augustine, who is going to be an important piece. And it just doesn't seem like they're going to have him this year, and that stinks. And so we saw that vulnerability exposed yesterday. But all that said, I picked Virginia to win the national title heading into the year. I still think they're going to find a way to get to Omaha.
Stay the course.
Hey, can I actually answer your question?
Yeah, go for it.
Since I did a horrible job of not answering your question before, I'll do 5 Arkansas, 5 LSU, 5 Tennessee. I'm actually going to do 3 Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this team, and I'll say this: watching them again over the weekend against Georgia, I think the fact that they lost Ballou so early in the season is actually a really good thing. I think it gives them time for guys like Jaquay Stewart, who had a big home run over the weekend, to kind of settle into a role. It gives Casey Borba a lot of time to settle into a role before they get to the postseason. And Dylan Volantis, guys, against that Georgia lineup yesterday was once again awesome. I mean, 8 strikeouts, 4 shutout innings in conference right now. Volantis has not given up a run in 13 1/3, and teams are hitting 156 off him in conference. I just think if you look at Texas with Jared Spencer dealing, Luke Harrison continues to throw well. You have the Ruger Dylan Volantis combo. Who's beating those guys in a super regional in Austin? If they can just get their regional. I don't know who's going to beat them in Austin with the way that they're pitching. So I'm pretty bullish on Texas right now.
I'm with you on Texas, and I'll give you guys my wager here in a second. Sure. First of all, let me just put a bow on the SEC results. Texas swept Georgia. That was jarring, right? Like the confidence we all have in Georgia takes a little bit of a hit. Texas just keeps on winning. My big concern with Texas is it's gone too perfectly so far. And that's not like a rational objection, right? Like, hey, Jim Schlossnagle and Max Wiener, you're doing too good of a job, right? Like that's basically what I'm saying. Like you've coached too perfectly. I will say Rylan Galvan, he is my favorite player in college baseball.
All in on that guy.
He's like a 1975 catcher in the big leagues, just gruff and tough. And he's like, I don't know, what is he? 5'11", 215, and he just plays with a big attitude, and he hits that walk-off home run. A&M hits 11 home runs, and they looked very. A&M looked very physically impressive. like you said, Kendall. And, Tennessee, and Tony Vitello alluded to it in his post-game presser, they just showed a little immaturity on that day. Like, they got all geeked up about the no-hitter the night before. They didn't mentally prepare properly for a doubleheader. And so, they got clipped, and that can happen in the SEC. I still feel like Tennessee's the most talented roster in the country, but that probably will serve them well. So anyway, that was just interesting. Vandy sweeping the Gators is just, Florida sitting there at 1-11 is just hard to even process. And like you said, Kendall, I think you alluded to it. LSU sweeping OU. I mean, LSU.
Anderson.
Yeah, I need to start taking them. I mean, I'm taking LSU seriously, don't get me wrong, but I really have been hesitant to put them with the other teams in some way. I think just because they're not as physical, right? Like, they've got Jared Jones, and then Ethan Fry is kind of coming on, but I'm not sure that I'm considering Ethan Fry like a real dude yet. I'm still trying to get my arms around him. LSU's style is different, and I think I just haven't properly processed that yet. So.
Yeah, and Ianson threw really well over the weekend, which I thought was a plus. I mean, when I saw him against Texas a couple of weeks ago, I thought he was just okay. I mean, Chase Shores threw a lot better. So there were really good developments for them. I think the other thing for me, real quick from Gainesville, is 1-11 for Florida. That's unexplainable. But, I think Fitt brought it up last week that he was still pretty sold on Vanderbilt's pitching in specific. And, Vanderbilt gave up 5 runs in 3 games on the road. It's not like Florida has an awful offense or anything. So I thought that was pretty impressive.
And I want to circle back on LSU. Then I want to hear Rooney spend his money. I love their lineup. I mean, it's not like 1997 LSU. Like, it's not like a bunch of steroid guys. I mean, not a bunch of physical. Excuse me. No, I mean, it is what it is.
Wow.
Vitamins.
His name is, his Twitter handle or X handle is @Aaron Fitt.
But they're athletic. They've got 11 guys hitting 300 or better, or more than that even. Like, it's just, they get on base, they hit for average, they work the count. I mean, you've got star power. I mean, you got a lot of star power. Not only Jared Jones, who might be, he's certainly on the short list for the best players in the country, I think, at this point, with just the power and the hit tool. But, obviously we all know Derek Carriel's a big time star. I know he's not like physical per se. He's wiry. He's a freshman. He's a wiry freshman, but he's just so advanced. Fry, I'm buying. I think he's the real deal. Dickinson's a star. I know he's not tall, but he's strong, and he's a star, and Milam is not tall, but he's strong, I mean, they've got Hernandez, Pearson are veteran guys that have strength. Like, I don't think lack of physicality is a problem. I think their position player group is well balanced, and the pieces fit together nicely.
You know who they remind me of, Fitzy, is this LSU team reminds me of Mike Gillespie's USC teams, who obviously were top 5 teams, won a national title. Because I think where my brain starts down that road is Derek Carriel 20 years ago would have played for USC 25 years ago, right? Like, that kid doesn't leave Southern California to go to the SEC. He stays and plays at Southern Cal. But yeah, like LSU, I'm having a tough time processing the style change, but I do like that's a really good team. Like, if you had to win one college baseball game, that's a really good team, and that's what this comes down to. So I will transition us to the ACC with my wager. I would spend $10 on the Hogs. I would put $10 on, and again, I'm going to say this out loud. Tennessee, I think, has got the most talented roster in the country, but that Saturday did spook me a little bit because your season can come down to one day. And I would spend the other $10 on Georgia Tech. I'm really smitten with Georgia Tech. I'm smitten with the Danny Hall story. I'm blown away at how they went out to Palo Alto and ran Stanford off their own field 3 times. Or there might have been one close game in there, but like, just Georgia Tech was ferocious. Like, just the scores jump. I couldn't believe the scores. I'm all in on this Georgia Tech team. Burris is a star. Mason Patel gives them an X factor on the mounds. So anyway, that would be funny. Hey, Wake takes a series at Florida State. That was huge. Clemson just goes out and rolls Cal. NC State, you mentioned. Fitzy, let me get your take on this. I watched a lot of UNC Duke, and like, this is my thought. I'm a little anxious about the middle of the SEC, which is unusual. Like usually the middle of the SEC means you're an Omaha team or, like you're in that mix. I think UNC and Duke, who this is weird, but UNC and Duke are the middle of the ACC. I think they're better than the middle of the SEC teams. I have more confidence in Duke and UNC than I do in these like kind of middle of the road SEC teams. And I think it's because UNC and Duke really passed the eye test for me. I don't know. Do you have a thought on that?
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. Like if you're looking at kind of the middle tier of the SEC, so right now we're talking about the, I don't know, I guess what Auburn, Oklahoma, Kentucky,
Vandy,
maybe even Ole Miss. You could put in that. I mean, Ole Miss is number 6 in the country right now, but like it kind of feel like they're in the middle tier, not the top tier.
Correct. Yes, I'm with you.
And yeah, I think it is. I think I'm with you on that. I mean, I'm a little bit concerned about North Carolina just because their offense is still, we're still waiting for it. It's a little bit like Vanderbilt, where it's like it's a team that they're kind of built like Vanderbilt, where it's pitching first for sure. And I still think that's a real asset right now because that's what stands out. I mean, everybody hits for the most part. So if you don't, maybe that's a problem. But I mean, if you can actually shut people down with your arms, I just think that's the separator in today's game. And so I think North Carolina and Vanderbilt can do that. So I think those two teams, to me, that feels like a pretty good analog, actually. But it seemed like I think Matthew Mateus left with an injury this weekend.
I did hear that
on the warm-up pitch, and that spooks me. I don't know. I haven't heard an update on that, but like, they'd already kind of turned it over to Lynch and McDuffie, the two freshmen, as their go-to bullpen arms. And maybe there already been a passing of the flag there, but they need Mateus. Like, it's a first-team preseason All-American, proven guy. Like, if he's out long-term, that's not good. So that gives me some pause. It does feel like I like their frontline pitching a lot. Jason DeCaro has not really had a very good year. They need him to find it. I mean, Knapp's been awesome, coming off injury. That's great for them. But I like their pitching a lot. I'm not quite as all in on it maybe as I was before this potential Mateus thing. And then, just seeing DeCaro continue to kind of be up and down, but more down than up. Is something to monitor. So anyway, I do like them, but no, I don't like them as much as I did last year. And Duke, I agree. Duke passes the eyeball test. They've got so much left-handed pitching, especially if they match up with a team that really relies on left-handed hitting. They're a problem for you. But they're also just, I feel like their pitching is coming together. They've had to kind of restructure it, and they're getting more length out of their starters, which is encouraging. I think they're more offensive than these other teams in the North Carolina or NC State in the region. I feel like Duke is a team that I'm buying on long term. That it's showing you flashes, but it's kind of like fits and starts a little bit like a lot of the teams in the ACC right now. I mean, NC State and Virginia and Wake, like all these teams have kind of been like up, back, and you see it. I mean, I still think all those teams are capable of making deep postseason runs, which I don't know if I necessarily feel the same way about the Kentucky. I mean, I guess, the Kentucky, Auburn, Oklahoma. There's a lot of teams that are kind of in that same category, I guess. Actually where it comes down to Runes is I think all those teams are pretty similar, the middle of the ACC, the middle of the SEC.
Runes, look at one thing about the ACC that's interesting. I was kind of looking at some of their pitching numbers just because, I mean, let's be honest, the last few years, the one thing that we've kind of bagged on Georgia Tech is just because of the pitching at times. And what's really interesting about their staff is, I mean, they're ranked second in the ACC right now in ERA. And I was just kind of diving into their deeper stats, but they're 22nd nationally in strikeouts per innings. They're 25th nationally in strikeouts to walks as a staff. They're 39th nationally in WHIP. And this is coming from an offense that I think is second in the country in scoring. That's a really good combo. And let's not forget, they were, an out away from winning the Clemson series at home? This is a really good team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think, Danny Hall's gone out of his way. Like their pitching coach, Matt Taylor, has really made a difference there. And, him and James Ramsey become this really nice tandem of assistant coaches for Coach Hall. And I'm with you. It's very interesting. I see coaching, the coaching of pitchers really making a difference nationally. Like you guys know, you mentioned it, Kendall. I had Arizona and Arizona State, and Jeremy Accardo has made a massive difference at Arizona State. Their ERA, their team ERA is down a run and a half year over year. a run and a half per game. And, some of that's the players growing up, right? Like freshman pitchers became sophomore pitchers. I look at what Kevin Vance and John DeRoyan, Arizona's, data analytics guy, what they've done, man, it's
Max Wiener in Texas. I mean, Texas with that pitching staff, 3.04 second nationally. They're ahead of Tennessee now. In Coastal Carolina at 4. Was that Matt Williams, right? Yeah.
Yeah, incredible. So anyway, really, really cool. It's like there's this was a weekend with some really interesting results that have caused me to have to reprocess a lot of things that I believe. Hey, let's take a quick break. I want to talk about. Oh, go ahead, Fitzy. You want to finish the ACC?
Just one more thought on the ACC, because we didn't really talk about, I think, the biggest result of the weekend, which is Wake Forest.
Yes.
Going to Tallahassee and losing the first game, and then they lost the first game and came back and clobbered them the next two.
Run rolled twice.
Nothing in 17-2. And we didn't rank Wake Forest. We had a lengthy discussion about it. They kind of felt like they had to be behind Virginia Tech because Virginia Tech just swept them last week. Wake had lost 5 of their last 6 ACC games, and going back a little farther than that, it was 6 losses in the last 8 games. And so they, this was a great recovery for them. But no. They're a team that has a high upside that has yet to quite put it all together, and is, like a lot of these teams, shuffling pieces around, trying to, they put Dalton Wentz at second base now because second base had been a problem position for them, and he went off offensively this weekend. The true freshman, really talented kid. They moved Schmolke from the bullpen into the Friday starter spot, and then got much better starts from Logan Lunsford and Blake Morningstar. I really like the options they have in the rotation, and I love the power arms in their bullpen and the variety. I still am really high on their pitching staff, and it's just it just feels like a lot of these teams. It's okay, who fits best where. Duke's been kind of like that too, like who fits best in what spot. And those are two teams, Duke and Wake Forest, that I just think in the second half I'm absolutely buying, just as they get those combinations figured out. And this was a glimpse of Wake Forest's upside here this weekend.
Yeah, it's so interesting to put a bow on the ACC. We're 8 weekends in, which means there's 6 left, 6 conference weekends left. And I think like Wake Forest, jarring last 3 weeks, right? They go 1-5, like you said, Fitzy, they get, really handled by Virginia Tech on their own field, get swept. And then they go win a series in Tallahassee against a team that we think can win a national title, or we thought could win a national title until Wake did this to them. And my point being that with 8 weekends behind us and 6 weekends ahead of us, I feel like there's more left to learn this season than we already have learned. I feel like the next 6 weeks, I'm trying to get my brain ready for the next 6 weeks to tell me more than the first 8 weeks have taught me. It's wild how
I think there are a lot of contenders.
Yes, well said. A lot of different teams that can do damage. It's fun. It's so fun in that regard. Speaking of fun, boys, let me tell you about Tecovas boots. If you love our game, you know that smell, the one that brings you right back. Fresh cut grass, a broken in glove made with real leather. That's exactly what you get with Tecovas boots. They're made for baseball people, whether you've been wearing boots your whole life or picking up your first pair. With over 200 steps of craftsmanship, they're built to last, feel great right out of the box, and they look even better. As people in Newtown Square taught me as a very young tot, anywhere worth going is worth going in good boots. Find your pair today at Tecovas. No one in Newtown Square ever said that, actually.
I was about to say, did somebody in the Philadelphia area really say something about boots?
No, they did
not.
No way. No. Galoshes is what we had going. So, boys, let's talk about the Big 12.
Yeah.
So, some big results. So, Kansas swept UCF on the road, which was huge. Kansas had a lead in the 9th in the Sunday game at Arizona State a few weeks ago. They get New Contradas, it's a 2-run homer to walk off KU. They're a pitch away from winning that series. They have now won 9 in a row since that happened. 9 in a row. Cooper Moore is back in the rotation. Kansas just on a heater. They're the first place team in the Big 12. Arizona won the series over Arizona State. They went 3-1 against ASU. I would encourage anyone, I don't know when the next Nerdcast is. Arizona's got a hosting resume right now. Like a top 15 RPI. They've got some really impressive wins. And this series put a capper on it. And then, of course, Oklahoma State swept Kansas State. That's the theme of this year, boys, is people can't handle attention. Like, as soon as we hug you, you go in the crapper. That's
Oklahoma State and A&M must have teamed up to be like, oh, okay, let's start the season again. The thing about Oklahoma State that's really interesting is Maximus Martin and that Kansas State offense have been red hot the last couple of weeks. But I mean, if you look at Oklahoma State's pitching over the weekend, that's what stands out. I mean, Harrison Bodendorf, 12 strikeouts in 7 innings. Sean Youngerman was really good yesterday for Oklahoma State. I want to say he had 11 strikeouts and 8 shutout against that offense. That's pretty impressive. So Oklahoma State, all of a sudden has our attention again. And this is a team that is supremely talented. They can absolutely go on a run.
Yes. Fitzy, I'm going to ask you. I'm not going to ask you a question. I'm going to tell you something. Next Nerdcast, just I want you to put the Cincinnati Bearcats in your back pocket. They're kind of like they're lurking, is what I would tell you.
Can you say that again? Beer cats? Is that what you said?
I say beer cats.
Are we? Does winning a series in Lubbock do much for you these days and age?
Is that what they have coming up, or that's what they just did?
No, that's what they just did.
Did they sweep Texas Tech, or did they win the series?
No, I think they actually blew a pretty substantial lead yesterday to not sweep that series.
Oh man, that would have.
Yeah, I mean they're on the radar at least.
They're on the radar. They're 6-6 in the Big 12, which is in the 19-12 overall, but it's still. I think the other metrics are. I was looking.
Yeah, this is a weird league. I mean, this is a league that's just going to continue to beat up on each other. Like TCU hosts Kansas this weekend. That's another one. I mean, Baylor losing a series to Houston. I'm not sure I really saw that coming after they won that series at Arizona. So it's just going to be a lot of movement in this conference throughout the rest of the season, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Fitzy. Go ahead.
We just keep trying to figure out, who the top teams are, and it feels like every time, last week we brought in Kansas State and Arizona State into the top 25, and then this week they're both out because they both lost. And now we've got Kansas and Arizona in, and Arizona's been in and out, and Oklahoma State started in and then dropped out, and we had Cincinnati in the rankings, and then they dropped out, and it just feels like. West Virginia has been knocking on the door, and people are probably screaming at us in Morgantown. Why don't you have us ranked? We're 27-4, but they haven't beaten any of the good teams. It's just a lot of empty calories, and it's like when they played Arizona at home, they lost 2 out of 3. Yep. And that was kind of the test. And good for them. They beat up on the Utah wing of the conference. I'll do respect to BYU and Utah. They're not regional caliber teams this year. And so they're there though, and TCU was in the rankings and is out, and it's just like another team is kind of knocking on the door. I don't like TCU's body of work, but so everybody's is just kind of beating up on each other and going round and round, and it feels like that's been the case in a lot of conferences, the ACC as well. But right now, it just doesn't feel like we quite have clarity at the top of this league, whereas we have more an idea in some of the other leagues who the best teams are.
Yeah, and I think that was the nature of my thought on Cincinnati. Is when I was doing the Arizona State game, I was thinking, is there any mathematical way for this league to get 8 teams in? And the problem is there's not really an 8th team with an 8th resume that would merit that. And Cincinnati's just kind of hanging around, right? They're like you said, Kendall, you said it perfectly. They're on the radar, right? But and then I was worried Baylor starts to slip a little bit, but I don't know. Like we said, maybe Oklahoma State goes on some hellacious run, and then we saw A&M's. What did A&M's RPI improve in one day?
Their RPI went up 40 something spots in one day.
Yeah, incredible. Hey, as we put a bow on the Big 12, 2 players I want to call it. Adonis Guzman has been famous.
Mm-hmm.
He was at Boston College, then he was at Arizona. And the truth is, it hasn't clicked, right? He hasn't been a great player. He's been just kind of a name. He's turned into a player. He's kind of he's getting in dust-ups every game. He's become kind of the heartbeat of Arizona with Brendan Summerhill out. I thought that was so cool to see Adonis Guzman in his 3rd year of college baseball. He's hitting 340. He's really an important player for them. And then for Arizona State, Cole Carlone is an Arizona kid, comes to ASU with a lot of hype and pressure and didn't go great last year. And this year he's really emerged. He touched 98 yesterday. It's from a high slot. He's got this 86 to 89 mile an hour cutter that's hellacious. I think he struck out 10 guys in 3, in 4 innings. It was outrageous what he did out of the bullpen. So anyway, yeah, the Big 12, I think, to put a bow on it, is really a fun league. it's the one league that conference realignment has it's changed the face of that league in a really fun way. Boys, let me give you some other results to chew on, and then you tell me what you want to talk about. The Beavers of Oregon State didn't start well. They got bombed in game 1 of that series. They ended up winning the series. So I thought it was a really important series win for the Beavers over UC Irvine, who's very good. Western Kentucky wins the series at DBU. That was huge for them. Hashtag RDP, boys. Roll damn Pards. Don't let the Leopards of Lafayette get hot. They lost game 1 on Saturday to Navy and then won 3 games in a row. Again, roll damn Pards. Don't let the Pards get hot. Hey, FAU swept East Carolina at East Carolina. That was, the American remains congested. I'm going to say this. Austin P and Stetson don't play this year. Come on, A-Sun. What are you doing to us?
I know. I think we talked about that a while back. That's very disappointing.
Yes. Iowa is 12-3. Iowa's last 2 weekends, boys, at Oregon State, and then they play Oregon. So I'm really intrigued by Iowa, but those last 2 weekends are going to be kind of put up or shut up time. Cal Poly's now 12-0 in the Big West. The top of the MAC is 1A. The 1A MAC is fun. Ball State, Kent State, Bowling Green, and Miami look like they're going to have this kind of photo finish. The Southland has 6 teams with 20-plus wins. The top of the Southland is really fun this year. 6 teams with 20-plus wins. The Tommies run the Summit. Fitzy, your Tommies of St. Thomas. They're 10-1. They run the Summit. Hashtag run the Summit. And then Marshall took a series from USM and talked mad smack on Twitter, which we condone. We encourage that. So go wherever you want, gentlemen.
I will say this, or I'll ask you guys a question. Which team has the top ERA in college baseball?
Is it Western Kentucky?
It is Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky is number 1 in the country in team ERA. Over the weekend against DBU, they played and pitched really well. I mean, their bullpen in the opener was awesome. Dawson Hall threw 6 shutout. And it was good to see because, Mark Reardon's done a tremendous job at WKU, but I think it's one of those situations to where if you looked at their resume before this weekend, it was kind of like, show me something. Other than sweeping the Pards, which is, takes an army to sweep the Pards, they really hadn't done anything. So just to see their pitching perform at that kind of level against a DBU team that, it's not the best offense they've ever had, but it's still a pretty, dynamic offense. So WKU is definitely on my radar. That was a pretty eye-opening weekend for them. And, Ryan Weideman, I feel like he's a fabulous fit dog, if not mistaken.
Sure
also had some big hits over the weekend.
Midseason All-American. He's a monster. Power, speed, defense, you name it. Monster. Guys, we got to talk about the Beavers. Man, oh, man. This is like a series of the year in the West. Certainly one of the series of the year in the West. A chance for somebody, Irvine or Oregon State, to really bolster the regional hosting case. And I think actually it's one of those, the way it worked out, it probably didn't hurt Irvine that much. You go on the road, you lose 2 out of 3 against a very good team, a tough place to play. That's fine for their resume. But I think it was important for Oregon State to win that series at home. And they did, after losing the opener and did not get any kind of length again from Nelson Keljo, which, is not ideal, but they came back the next 2 days and did get a lot of length. Or some length at least. Dax Whitney got him into the 5th, and then AJ Hutchison was awesome for him out of the bullpen. He's really a weapon for them back there. And and then on Sunday it was Ethan Kleinschmidt, who I think those, I think it's a pretty good trio. Obviously Keljo's been up and down some runes. You probably have more insight on that than I do, but I think that was our question. We're going to say coming into the year was, do they have enough on the mound? I think they do. I think the pieces there, they can mix and match you a little bit. They did that some on Sunday after Kleinschmidt came out, but I still really like their position player group a lot. We saw Gavin Turley have a really nice weekend for them, and obviously with Easton Talton, Arquette, and Caraway. I'm still waiting for him to kind of find that next gear. I know it's in there. But it's there's a lot of upside still with this team. Another team that, as some of their top players really get hot, which I think will happen at some point. There's another gear, I think, for Oregon State as well. So important series, and the Beavers found a way to take care of business there.
You know what I wish? If I could give Mitch Canham advice that he doesn't need from Coach Rooney, but I'll just do it. into the hot mic. I wish that they would stop the Nelson Keljo starting experiment and just put Eric Segura in the rotation, because I feel like Segura is in this like random role and it's hurting him. Like, and that's too dramatic, but you know what I mean? Like he's got bad numbers, and I think Eric Segura is a better pitcher than that. I wish they would just put Keljo in the bullpen where he's just like a, 3 innings once a weekend of like you got no chance, as opposed to this. Keljo starts the game really uneven, and they're just like a bear on roller skates for the rest of that game. Because you're right, Fitzy, Kleinschmidt's been awesome. And, Dax Whitney's showing no signs of freshman fatigue. He looks like he's totally up for it.
Yeah.
The thing in their lineup that's interesting is Dallas Macias is kind of like their team leader, and he's had an awful year. But I did notice that they put him back in there this weekend, and he's only hitting 150, and maybe they just need to give him a break. But I hope that they just kind of ride that out and let him kind of just whatever, like who cares what your batting average is, just play good from here on in. But yeah, that's well said by you, Fitzy.
Yeah.
It's a good weekend for both teams.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I would say about Segura is having, watched him at Round Rock a few weeks ago, he's not quite as crazy as Cole Rowland, but he kind of has that demeanor on the mound. Like he's real loud, and like when he strikes somebody out, he's kind of staring you down and being pretty vocal. That's just kind of that would be a very interesting personality to have as a starter, I feel like, just because it seems like he gets really amped up. So maybe that's why they kind of keep him in the bullpen, is because that's just kind of who he is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
he's really good though.
Yeah, and he made every start as a freshman last year on a super regional team.
True.
So like he just feels like out of sorts to me. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
easy for me to say from Prescott.
He was there.
Arizona,
I mean, outside of Dax in Round Rock, I thought he was their best arm. He was awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's the point, and maybe that's the what we wrap on, is that like there's still a lot of tinkering going on, right? Like there's still a lot of like, hey, how do I get this player in the right spot so that their talent can come out? And like it feels like the coaches and the players that make the best adjustments from here to the end of the season will be the teams that emerge.
Well, and to that point, I mean, again, just think of where I was this weekend. I mean, Duke. We debated in the preseason, All-American teams like AJ Gracia for Duke was in the debate. We debated Harrison Didowick. Both those guys are hitting less than 200, right? And it's
crazy.
Like, how do we get these guys going? And in most cases, he's just kind of out of the starting lineup and in and out. And, it's Duke kind of riding it out with Gracia, but he's sitting like in the 9-hole. And it's just like, these guys are too good to struggle like this all season long, and they need to figure it out for these teams to really hit their ceilings. And that's a lot to put on college kids, but that's what it is. I mean, it's it's a game where you do need your star players to perform like stars. I mean, it is important.
Yeah, I had two funny examples of that in the ASU Arizona series. So U of A is down Brendan Summerhill, who I would argue was he might have been the Big 12 Player of the Year at the midpoint, right? And they're without Easton Breifogel, so they're down 2 outfielders. So Andrew Kane goes out there. He's never played he was a DH, right? Like they were even nervous about him in the infield. He's a first baseman, third baseman. He goes out to left field, and of course hits 2 home runs in the series, right? Like because of course he did. Now he did zoo a ball yesterday, but mostly it was fine. And then like for Arizona State with their offense, like Arizona State's 2 best hitters right now are Landon Hairston, and Matt King. If you had told me that in the fall, I would have said I quit, right? Like there's no way that's possible that Kian Vu and Jacob Tobias and Brandon Compton are not their 2 best hitters. But it's just like everybody's at different points, and you just never know what's going to happen. So Landon Hairston, that's the name to write down. That the kid's a stud. Absolute stud. He's their best hitter. Just saying.
Was he the one who hit the ball last night? There was like 108 off the bat. It was like smoked up the middle.
Probably. He wears out the middle of the field. And obviously like Landon Harrison's not. It's 3rd generation big leaguer. He's Scott Hairston's kid, and Matt King is the transfer from UTSA. Matt King, it's over 800 plate appearances in college, right? Like that matters. Like that's real skill. So there you go, gentlemen. Week 9 is coming up. What happened? What week 9? So anyway, Good to see you
I
guys.
just have a you as well. I just have a feeling this is, not to get too ahead of ourselves here, but like I feel like this postseason is going to be absolutely insane, which is great for you, Runes.
I agree. I think it could be bonkers. Like it is the locks feel so small, like the number of locks.
Yeah.
And that makes it fun. That makes it really fun. So, all right. Good job, gentlemen. We said 39 minutes of heaven, and we are delivering 39 minutes of heaven. That is it. Everybody have a great week, and we will catch you next time on the D1 Baseball Podcast.